The artist community, for better or for worse, is not especially well known for its financial literacy. We are famously not very good with numbers, and that's not true with just us. Actually, the number one reason why most small businesses fail in the first year is because of money problems. It's not just us. Business is hard. Creative entrepreneurship is hard. Turning your passion into a business that can sustain you, that's really hard. And there's so little real, accessible, actionable information when it comes to business and marketing and taxes and finances for small, creative businesses like ours. And I know this because over the past couple of years, I have made some really terrible money mistakes, like owing the IRS tens of thousands of dollars kind of money mistakes that would have made a real tangible impact in my life if I hadn't made them. Like, the money that I lost was real. But these mistakes aren't unique to me. They happen all the time. And these common mistakes are really easy to make if you don't know where to look and you're not keeping an eye out for them. So that's what I want to talk about in this video. The common money mistakes that artists are making all the time that are really hurting our community and that we could just stop making if only we knew to look out for them. But before we get started, I do want to thank Found for sponsoring this video. They're a business checking account and banking app specifically designed for self-employed people like you and me. And they can help you estimate and automatically save for taxes, track expenses, and so much more. But more on them later. Let's dive right into the common mistakes that artists make when it comes to money. Number one is expecting and betting on instant success. Your art business is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is not going to be an easy road. It's not going to take you 2 weeks or 6 months. It's going to take you years. And you should be really prepared for that. You should be emotionally, financially, psychologically prepared for it taking a long time. Most small businesses are not profitable within their first 2 years, much less their first 6 months. I know for me, it took me like 2.5 years. 2.5 years to start and then go full-time in my business. And in that time, right before I went full-time, I was basically making no money. It scaled super fast for me, which is not normal. But for 2.5 years, I was basically broke and I was making no money. And I was working a bunch of freelance gigs and part-time jobs. I was making videos in college. I was doing internships and TA work and part-time jobs and a million other things to keep myself afloat while I worked on this. And eventually it came to fruition, but I did not bet on that instant success because I knew for a fact that it was just not going to happen right away. Eventually, yeah, but not right away. But by expecting instant success, you are setting yourself up for burnout and taking a fundamentally unsustainable approach to business in general. Deadlines and pressure is one thing, but putting yourself in a financially precarious situation is another. Most people are only a couple of poor choices or twists of fate away from experiencing things like homelessness. I have had that happen to people close to me in my own life, and it's really terrible. I don't want that for you, and I think there's a better way to do business, basically. I think when you make huge, risky bets, when you bet on instant success, you are putting yourself under so much unnecessary stress and burden and overwhelm that I think actually you are not able to make high quality art. I think that you are just not going to make good choices when you are in that state. And I think taking it slow and committing to this being a thing that you will work on for years part-time is so much more financially stable and less anxiety inducing. So instead of expecting instant success in business, you should actually really consider creating an environment of slow and sustainable growth. So I just finished reading this book. It's called The One-Page Marketing Plan by Alan Dibbs. It's a really great book. I would recommend it. Probably gonna have a video on it sometime soon. And in this book, Alan Dibbs talks about two different approaches to finding customers and making money in your business. There's hunting, okay? Picture a hunter-gatherer society, right? You're the hunter, so you leave every morning with your weapons, with your tools, and you go and get the game, and I don't know how hunting works, whatever. If you come back empty-handed, your family goes hungry. right? You are living day to day, minute by minute, with insane amounts of pressure on you. And probably your marketing, if we take this approach to business, is going to reek of desperation. These are the folks that are betting on instant success, okay? The hunters are betting on instant success. And because they bet on success, they need it. Their marketing reeks of desperation, and they're doing anything they can to get new customers and to close sales. If you are hunting in your business, you're probably dumping money that you don't have on things like Instagram and Facebook ads when you don't know who you're going to reach those ads, and you also don't know how those ads work and what the best approach is to take with them. And you're also probably doing things like lowering prices to unsustainable levels because you're trying to compete with other people in your community on price instead of considering other ways to set yourself apart from your competition with things like branding and storytelling. Or there's another approach. Alan Dibbs also talks about farming in this book when it comes to business anyway. When you're a farmer, you're making a plan, right? You're planting seeds, you're tending to those seeds, you're nurturing them, and you're waiting until they're ready to harvest. When we translate farming as an approach to business, it looks a little bit like this. You know that you're in this for the long haul, and so you would take time to figure out what your plan is, what your approach is, who your audience is going to be, how you are going to reach those people, and how you are going to create products that they're actually interested in. You know that an audience, aka leads, aka future customers, is the most important thing to have. Like, your audience is your business. You know that because of that, your main priority needs to be marketing first and foremost, building that audience up rather than monetizing right away, right? You are planting seeds of your future customers, not trying to reap immediately. Oh, geez. Okay, that was a long one. The second mistake, though, that I see artists making all the time when it comes to money is underestimating startup costs. This is especially true when it comes to things like markets or an online shop. I see a lot of artists wanting to start an online shop, but not really crunching the numbers and realizing, okay, this is exactly how much this thing is going to cost. And when I say this, I really mean like run the numbers, like calculate it down to the last paperclip, like the little tiny purchases, that's what adds up. Okay, the little tiny things, those can bring you way over budget. It's not just like the packaging, it's the little freebies that you put in your orders. It's the little extras that you do. It's the business cards that you printed unnecessarily. It's the templates that you bought for Instagram posts. It's the subscriptions to your email marketing software. It's the million little things that all add up at the end. I really think that it's super valuable for you to actually get a really good picture of what your startup costs are going to look like by doing your research and coming up with a huge list of everything that you will need to start your business. And then when you have that list, take a step back and ask yourself, okay, do I need the things on this list? Are all of these things essential? Are they necessary, or do I just want them? Would it just be like a nice to have, like cute little addition kind of thing? Because if you don't need them, then you probably don't want to get them right away. When you're thinking about launching your online shop, do you really need a website or an inventory? Or could you sell pre-orders in your Instagram stories and take payments via like PayPal or a business Venmo account? Do you need that website? If you are broke, if you have $0, do you need it? Or could you do a little bit of a crazier thing, right? Start really low budget. I think that you probably can. Right? Creativity, it's what we're good at, so be creative. Really, our goal here is to aggressively minimize our startup costs so that you can avoid going into debt and start making profit faster. By minimizing the amount of materials that we need to start, you're eliminating excuses. When you have everything that you need to start, then suddenly you have fewer excuses, right? And then you are also not going into debt, which is great, and you can have the experience of making your first dollars in profit faster. And isn't that awesome? That's the motivation that's going to urge you to keep going, not, oh shit, I need to pay off my credit card bill and I can't afford it. That's That's not a good situation to be in. We don't want to be there. The third money mistake that I see artists making all of the time is not setting aside enough money for taxes. So when you work a traditional 9-to-5 job, your employer takes money out of your paycheck, right? You don't see that money that you pay for taxes. Those taxes are directly paid to the government. You don't have to worry about it. When you're self-employed, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. When you are self-employed, you have self-employment taxes. In the US, that is things like Social Security and Medicaid. Again, that's anywhere between 15 to 25-ish% that you should be setting aside. And that money isn't really yours, right? It's the government's. It's owed to them. You have to pay that. If you don't pay that, there will be consequences. And it's really, really easy to calculate this number wrong if you are bad at math or if your income is fluctuating a lot over the course of the year. So it turns out this past tax season, I actually owed the government, I owed the IRS close to like $10,000. $10,000 that I did not have at that moment to pay them. It took me a while to pay that off, but luckily, thanks to the sponsor of this video, Found, it's not a mistake I am likely to ever make again. That's because Found, the sponsor of this video, is a banking app specifically designed for small business owners that can help you estimate and save for taxes automatically. It does the math to estimate your taxes for you, adjusting based on your income over time and saving money over the course of the entire year so you're not hit with a huge surprise tax bill that you can't pay. This would have been so helpful for me last year. And so if taxes are a big source of stress and anxiety for you, I really want to encourage you to check this out. Found is a free business checking account and debit MasterCard. It includes all of the amazing tax features that I mentioned, as well as automatic bookkeeping tools to help you categorize your expenses, again, saving you money for tax season, all without the hidden fees of big banks. If you want to give it a try, you can use the link in my description to check it out and sign up. There's no credit check, it's totally free, and there's no minimum balance. And when you use my link or the promo code Kelsey, in all caps, KELSEY, you'll get a $125 bonus when you reach a balance of $5,000 within the first month, and then hold that for 30 days. Thank you so much again to Found for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into the money mistakes that artists are making all the time. All right, money mistake number 4 is not knowing your burn rate when it comes to your business and your lifestyle. Your burn rate is basically your minimum operating expenses. This is how much it costs to lead your current lifestyle and run your business the way that you are running it right now. So things like rent, right? Healthcare costs, your average grocery bill, any like pet vet costs, like any medical care for your animal stuff that you might have, your subscriptions, your supplies, any other stuff that you've got, like the transactions that just kind of come up over the course of the month, all of that, right? That's your burn rate. That's the amount of money that you need to live and to run your business. If you don't know your burn rate, you are probably going to make poor, ill-informed, and uninformed choices with your money. With that information, you can make smarter choices about things like your expenses, like whether or not you can afford that online course or that fancy art scanner, and your income, right? Like what products you launch, when you launch them, and how much they cost. Speaking of cost, and how much to charge when it comes to your products, mistake number 5 is actually underpricing your products and services. I see way too many artists not understanding what they're worth or not feeling confident charging a rate such that they can not only survive but actually thrive in their business. Yes, it's true. You can only charge what the market, i.e. your audience, can bear in terms of price, but you should not be bending over backwards to make yourself, your art, your products affordable if it comes at the cost of your own financial stability and your ability to run your business. Yeah, that's just what it comes to at the end of the day. You can totally run a business, by the way, where you try to make your products affordable and accessible for people, but you need to bare minimum be covering your expenses when it comes to like materials, manufacturing, supplies, your labor, and your taxes. Sorry, I ran out of fingers. If that's going to be your mission, if you want to make your artwork incredibly accessible and affordable, then you have to be really focused on building as large of an audience as you can, right? Because you need a lot of customers, and you need to be focused on keeping your expenses as low as possible, like as low as possible. You can't be over here making a super slim margin, that means profit, on your products if you don't have a huge audience. It's not, you got to build a business that can sustain your lifestyle. This is you want to build a business that gives you financial freedom and stability. You don't want a thing where you'd be better off having a real job, like a traditional 9-to-5. Most businesses never grow past the point where they generate a modest income for their owners. That's you, right? Where it's basically the equivalent of some scheduling freedom and an average okay wage, right? It's basically like a self-made job with an okay salary. If you are in that situation right now, you should really think about whether you'd be better off pursuing a traditional 9-to-5 in your industry, your niche, whatever you create art about, or if you can scale your business to a point where you make enough revenue that you can save for early retirement. If your business, this is really, really important, if your business requires you to be working 60 to 80 hours a week to keep things afloat, if you can't take a week off because you will lose money if you do that, you haven't built a business for yourself that gives you financial stability and freedom. You've built a prison. You've built a thing that will crumble around you if you so much as need a week off. That's risky. That is extremely risky. You should really be thinking about, okay, how can I scale, right? How can I create more evergreen marketing systems for myself? How can I grow my email list so that I only have to send an email if I want to make money? How can I generate more income for myself where I can actually afford to put money away and not just live paycheck to paycheck that I am paying myself? It's really hard. A lot of businesses actually don't grow past that point where they just generate a little bit of a modest income for their owners. But if you acknowledge that problem, if you see it, if you anticipate it, then you can take actions, right? Then you can really start to think about the finances of your business and how you want to scale and grow that. Or if you're okay with this, right? If you just want to reach a point where you're like, yep, I have built a healthy, financially stable, solo entrepreneurial lifestyle business. I know that there's only so much time that I can take off before I start losing money. I'm okay with that. I have making those trade-offs, and this is a thing that I will do for however many years, and then I will get a job in some other industry or whatever later on. If that's the choice that you're making, that's fine. But you should be consciously making that choice, right? You should be thinking about it and not just operating out of this default state. Yeah, I think knowledge is good, right? And choices, they're good. You should make them deliberately instead of just falling into these traps. These are really bad mistakes to make, especially if you don't really want to make them. And I just want you to be aware of these problems. The last big money mistake that I want to talk about today is not actually consistently talking about your offers. So the biggest thing that makes artists lose money or lose out on money is just not talking about the stuff they sell. I think that genuinely you should talk about the products that you offer early and often. You should probably talk about your products once a week, at least, absolutely at the least. If you are posting daily, you should be talking about your products every other day, maybe even every day. You should be really talking about the stuff that you offer, that you sell, and making sure that your customers know about that existence of your products, your website, that they are thinking about you often, basically. I know that feels spammy. Okay, I can already anticipate the comments being I don't want to annoy my audience by talking about this thing that I sell all the time. But the reality is this, right? Reach on platforms like Instagram is very low. All of your audience is not going to see every single post that you make. Probably they're going to see 1 out of 7, 1 out of 10. So Yeah, you kind of do need to talk about the stuff that you sell all the time if you want to get results and conversion out of social media or whatever platform that you're using, because the reality is that your audience is just not going to see all the stuff that you put out there. So if you're only talking about it one time out of 10, then you've lost like 9 opportunities to communicate what you offer to someone. You can't launch your products one single time and then be disappointed when it doesn't take off and get you huge results, right? Consistent sales require consistent effort. This means showing up for yourself and your business and just talking about the stuff that you offer. It shouldn't feel hard, it shouldn't feel scammy, and it shouldn't feel disingenuous, right? You should market your products early and often. I'll do it right now. Okay, so next year, I'm going to do a huge series of educational business and marketing workshops for artists. And if you want to hear about those when they first go live, when I first do the pre-orders for them, you should join my email list. Thank you to Found for sponsoring this video, and I will see you in the next one.